All right, just want to see if it's going to go live, and as soon as it does, we'll get this party started. Should take usually a 30-second delay. And as soon as it tells me, we'll start going. All right, looks like it's going to go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, how are you this evening? This is Chris, and of course, this is Barn on 11970. This is another Google chat that I just was going to do spur of the moment. I always thought live shows were things that I didn't want to take part of. Actually, I was just going to go to bed, but then I just got inspired with a bunch of stuff that I learned today, and I thought I'd share it for those who care. So for those who watch this either live or they watch it sometime in the future, I thank you for taking the time to want to listen to what I have to say. This is another one of those live chats that was unannounced and just decided to do it because it's a good way. I mean, there are always good and bad things about YouTube. It's what you take from it and what you can make from it. And I find it's a good way to speak to those that come here that want to listen to what I have to say, and it's always appreciated. So I don't know how long this is going to go, and in typical fashion, I don't know what I'm going to say until I say it. But if anybody wants to ask any questions, I'll do my best to try and answer them. I don't know how long this is going to go. Basically, if you want to ask a question, and keep in mind, I'm just a regular person. I'm not an expert, so I'll do the best of my ability to answer any questions. But if you'd like to, because my podcasts are a little different than others, because you can ask a specific question. I could see it. It's not going to be scrolling, so none of the questions will get lost. But if you look where it says be a part of the conversation, click here. If you click on that, it's going to open up another window. You'll see on the top right-hand corner what looks to be a kind of like a white Rubik's Cube icon. If you click on that, you can ask any question. So I welcome them. And the more the merrier. I mean, if nobody wants to ask any, that's perfectly fine. Basically, what I want to talk about is, as people could see, I don't make as many videos as I used to here. That doesn't mean I'm not paying attention or anything's changed. I, every now and then, like to kind of get in learning mode where I'm watching other videos and just kind of absorbing things from behind the scenes. And the more I watch other people's videos and see what's going on in the world, the more cynical I see the average person is getting for some reason. I see that the world is becoming a lot more politically correct. It's almost like people are afraid to say anything without people getting offended anymore. And there's an old saying, be careful what you wish for, you may get it. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of people are asking to be protected and be saved, and you're not supposed to say that, or you're not supposed to refer to this particular type of person or persons. And we're getting to the point where we're losing our individuality, and it is ultimately a choice. The good thing is, I see there are still plenty of people out there that can see what is going on. And they can see that it's time to start standing up and saying things and not just sitting back and allowing basically bad things to occur. The problems in this world are always solvable if we decide to put in the effort. When we look the other way or pretend there's nothing wrong, bad can flourish. Now, I can understand throughout the years, throughout my own learning lesson, that there have been people that may have had issues with me or problems with me. I understand that because when you are new to something, and of course, I was thrust into this literally almost overnight when I got this, because when I first started making YouTube videos back in 2010, it had nothing to do with what I do now. It was literally just cartoons that I was doing. Then I started showing some of my silver collection. And then all of a sudden, I got bombarded with stuff that I didn't even know existed. Now, the average person, when they hear that stuff, their first response is to think, oh, that's crazy, or they dismiss it, or they get angry. But for some reason, I don't know why, it made sense. Now, like any path that you're not familiar with, there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. There's going to be a lot of dead ends. There's going to be a lot of reversing and backtracking. Sometimes you just want to give up. So I can understand in the beginning of me starting this stuff, where there were people that may not have understood what I was trying to do. Now, I will never sit here and say that I'm absolutely right about everything. I mean, no one on the planet is absolutely right about anything, about everything. But my intent has always been to try and help people. Now, there's an old saying that says you could please some of the people all the time and all of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. I accept that now. And as much as I was trying to learn in the early stages, the more I realized that each step is a learning lesson to get you to another level if you don't give up. Now, think of that in terms of, like, for example, a video game. The first level is always the easiest level. But if you're brand new to a video game and you know nothing about it, you don't know what lies ahead. But for you to get to the next level, you have to learn more and more of the game. And life is pretty much a game. There's a lot of twists and turns. Now, there are people out there who do get angry at me and make out of context situations, which I just don't understand the hatred, but I no longer question it because they're allowed to have their opinions just like I'm allowed to have mine. I just wish they would do it without the abuse, but that's on them. More power to them if that's what they want to do with their life. But from what I've been watching lately, I've noticed that the more negativity and hatred that I get, the stronger I end up becoming. Because let me tell you, if you get attacked and you get ridiculed and insulted in this world, that happens to everybody at this point. There's always somebody that doesn't like you. It's just part of life. You could be the nicest person in the world. There'll be somebody that wouldn't like you because you're nice. Now, the way I think of it is, if you stay stagnant, you're like a pond. It doesn't move. It doesn't flow. That's why the water is dirty, murky, green with algae. And that's why a stream is always flowing and the water is always crystal clear, because it's always moving. It's changing. This world can be whatever we want it to be. And if we want it to be where we look the other way and we hate on people and we spread negativity, we're going to eventually get the very things that we give. Now, I don't have all the answers. Trust me, I wish I did. Because for whatever reason, with the abuse and everything that I've put up with, the negativity, the things out of context, it could be very easy for me to give up. And I just don't want to do that. And sometimes you got to kind of sit back to see the world for what it is and figure out a way to learn something from it. So like I said, I don't know how many people, and there's about 30 people watching this. So the people that are watching, I thank you for listening to what I have to say, because here I am, just a regular person, a Mr. Joe Schmo, a nobody in the grand scheme of things. And there are people still willing to want to listen to what I have to say. And it's a beautiful thing to know that there are a few people out there that I've touched in positive ways. Now, I'm not talking physically touched or anything like that. I'm talking about somebody that wanted to commit suicide and listened to what I had to say and they changed their mind. Or somebody that thought of life as just nothing but negative, but saw something or heard something that I said that made them change their outlook. That is a beautiful thing I wish everybody can experience, and you can if you choose to. Now, the reason my channel will never be a major success is I will not sell out, in the sense of I will not put the fear porn out there. I will not do the negative videos and the dramatic videos, because easily, as much as some of the people hate me out there, I could easily play into their weaknesses and exploit that just for views. But it's not worth it to me. Because the few people that are here for the right reasons are the ones that matter. And I want you all to think about this, especially the people that are listening to this. You may be down, you may be by yourself, you may be hurt, you might have a loss in your life, either in the past or in the present. or a loss may be coming down the road, because that is kind of inevitable in this life, is you can choose whatever path you want. But the beautiful thing about any path is you can always veer off it. You can always turn around. You can also create your own path. And as easy as it is to hate, as easy it is to hurt, as easy it is to steal, as easy it is to take a life of another, it doesn't require effort. And if you're by yourself right now and you're lonely or sad or depressed, do whatever it takes to improve your life in any way in your power. Now, that does not suggest it is easy. But if you've ever heard the expression, nothing in life worth having is easy, there's a reason why negativity presents itself over and over again. And you could look at yourself in the mirror, you could put on a fake smile, you can talk to your reflection and say everything's going to be fine. But if you don't believe that in your heart, you can't lie to yourself. So if you are presented with some form of pain, see it in a different way. See it as a learning tool. And if you can do that, and you could understand, well, why am I continually seeing the same pattern over and over again? And instead of saying, woe is me, or instead of saying, I'm going to take it out on somebody else because I want somebody else to feel my pain, find a better way and your life will change. It will not change instantly. And if you develop the patience, it will get better. And I'm a prime example. This has been hard. This has been challenging. This has been with its ups and downs. I have complete strangers who don't know me that wish me harm, physical harm. People that get joy out of harassing me. It would be easy to walk away from this. It would be easy to pretend it doesn't exist. But is that the right thing? Wouldn't I be letting down the people that come here that need to hear what I have to say or appreciate what I have to say? What about you? I'm sure if you're listening to this and you're still listening to this, there is something in this world you can contribute to help somebody or something, to help an animal, to help a friend, a loved one, a stranger. That's the reward. And it's not easy. But think of it in this perspective. What do you think's easier? Creating a painting or destroying one? Think about that. For a beautiful piece of art to come into existence, first you have to have an idea. Then you have to have the will. Then you have to find all the necessary equipment to create that and sacrifice some of your time that you could have been doing something else with that time into doing this particular work. And it could take hours, it could take days, and for some things, it could take a lifetime. But if you put your heart into something, it will be beautiful, regardless of what anybody else sees your vision as. What does it take to destroy that artwork? A lighter? A knife? A bomb? Over in an instant. But what effort did it take to do that? It's an old saying that says, evil can thrive when good men do nothing. But it all boils down to choice. And you can choose whatever path you want. You can choose to continue to hate on people that you don't know because their ideals or their beliefs or their way of life is different than yours. But let me ask you this. What can you do to make somebody smile, to make somebody's life improve, to help somebody? Because it's very easy to hate. We see it throughout the history of this world. We see it today. Now, Again, I don't have all the answers, but I'm not afraid to ask questions. And since when is asking questions become such a bad thing in this world for people? It's almost like you're afraid to say anything for fear of some particular group hating you because you didn't say something perfect. And maybe that's why I had to go through some of the things I've gone through. And maybe that's why you're going through some of the things you're going through. It's not easy caring. And I know a lot of you out there feel that way. It's a burden sometimes. It's even an inconvenience at times. Because when you care, you could not afford to be selfish. Because when you care, that means you're caring about not just yourself, but others. When you are hurting other people, you are being selfish. Because if you are deriving pleasure out of someone else's pain that you've inflicted, then the only person you care about is yourself. Think about that. So would it be easier for me to attack the people that attack me? Of course it would be. But it's not the right thing to do. So to all the people that still to this day hurt me, find pleasure in pretending to be my friend and stabbing me behind the back, to the people that continually harass me, I don't wish a damn bad thing on any of them. I hope one day they will learn the joy of what it feels like to make somebody else smile, to make somebody else laugh, to change their life for the better. Now, I want to ask you all this. What do you think would mean more to you? If you had 1 million fake friends, what I mean by fake is people that will never really be there for you. They'll cheer you on. They'll pat you on the back when you do something. But when it all comes down to where you need them to help you, they are not there for you. Do you think they would mean more to you? Or just one person who absolutely loves you, who depends on you to survive, who is so glad you're there, who wants you to keep coming back? Which do you think would mean more to you? The 1 million that don't really care, but they're large in number, and they'll pat you on your back when you're doing the silly little things that you do. Or the one person that will be there through thick and thin. I'm lucky enough to have 2 people in my life that are that way. Now, 2 may not seem like a big number. And I'm sure the people that attack me have groups of people all patting each other on the back, giving them those cyber high fives, laughing at the jokes, laughing at the pain, the insults. But I guarantee you, if you are starving and you are about to die, I guarantee you they'll be nowhere to be found. So do they really matter to me? I let them affect me for the longest time. But again, it's by choice. And if I could teach anything on this channel, it's that you have the same choice to do whatever you want, including allowing yourself to be hurt. It's not always easy, and it's not always just a simple thing of, oh, I'll snap the fingers and life is a joy. No, I'm not going to try and insult anyone's intelligence that way. But of all the people that tried to hurt me throughout the years of doing this and on my other channel, which has nothing to do with this, it's my escape when I need to take a breath of fresh air. It's something that used to bring me joy until some of the people here went there to harass me, and they continue to do so, but it doesn't stop me. I have my mother, who is the best thing in my life, who is the reason why I respect women the way I do, where I appreciate women and the sacrifices they make. My mother, when my parents got divorced when I was 10, she sacrificed her whole life to make sure my sister and I survived. And when I was younger, I didn't appreciate that. I remember one Christmas that I wanted some superficial toy, as we all do as young kids. not realizing that my mother wasn't making a lot of money, and she got me the best thing that she could. And I remember it like to this day. I am 45 years old. I remember when I was 10 years old, so mad when I opened up that present and it wasn't what I wanted. It made her feel so bad about that. But people could say you're 10, but to this day that still affects me. But I now look back and realize the sacrifices that she made so we can have a chance. And that to me is a beautiful thing. And to this day, she always feels guilty that she didn't do enough. That is a caring person. And I can guarantee you, even the biggest of my haters probably have mothers that love them. And I hope they're around, because those of you who've watched this for a while know that I lost my father back in 2012. Didn't see him for years, and then he moved back around where I am to try and rekindle our father-son relationship, and he was taken away with the fire. He died. But I did get to see him one last time before that happened. It would have hurt a lot more if I didn't get to see him and he died where he was. So it's appreciating what we have. Now, I said there were two people in my life. And again, 2 is not a large number, but I'll take it. And this is where I want people to say, appreciate what you have, because some people may not have anything. And that's why some people are so angry and full of hate, and why they want to hurt others and drag them down instead of inspiring, because they have a hole that's in their heart that somehow they don't know how to fill or don't want to fill. But again, by choice. The second person is my wife. And we've had our ups and downs. It's been challenging. There were people that tried to do wrong things when it came to that. But despite every rocky road that we might have had, when I'm hurting, she's there for me. When I feel down, she tries to lift me up. So yes, does it hurt when people do bad things to me? Absolutely. I'm human. Just like you're human. At least I hope you are. So I don't believe in that whole reptilian thing. That's a joke. But to know that you have people that are there for you and know who you are, it's a refresher. So it doesn't matter if you don't have 5 million friends. It doesn't matter if you have 5 friends. If you have one person in your life that gives a crap about you, then you can affect them. Because why would I want to hurt my wife? Why would I want to hurt my mother? And by my actions of letting others affect me, I could end up transferring that emotion and that pain and that anger and that frustration out on them. And you don't realize how powerful you are. Because how your mood is moment to moment can affect other people around you and cause a chain effect. It's just like if you think about, and my other channel is about comic books, because that was something I used to love doing as a kid. And it's my kind of relaxation that I do. But if you think about the origin of Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man, when he first got his powers, being the teenager and the child that he was, didn't really know how to utilize them. He wasn't like he got the power and all of a sudden, I'm going to be a superhero. At first, he didn't know what to do with it. And in the beginning of his origins, he started out as a wrestler to try and make some money, because he was trying to help his Aunt May, who was struggling, and they just lost. Well, actually, at that point, they didn't lose their uncle yet. But when he was going to be the wrestler, he was doing like a wrestler for hire gig, where they were offering, I think, a $50 prize or something like that to if he wins in this wrestling match. So he wins, and he goes to the manager after the show expecting to be paid. And the manager basically gives him either nothing or less than what was promised. And basically says, that's show business. That's none of my concern. And as mad and frustrated Peter Parker was, as he's walking out, you see that there's a robber that ends up robbing that manager at that wrestling place, is trying to escape to the elevator where Peter Parker was walking to. And the manager screams out to Peter Parker, "Stop him, stop him." And out of his anger and probably hatred for that manager, he chose to not stop that criminal, thinking, oh, that'll teach him. Now, if you know the origin of why Peter Parker becomes the hero that he is now, and again, it's a fictional thing, but it's a good learning lesson, is what ultimately happened was that person that he let get away because of his anger and hatred towards that manager who basically stole from Peter Parker in a way by not giving what he was promised, ended up killing his uncle. But for the fact Peter Parker decided to not act because of his anger towards the person that was being hurt by that robber, if he would have acted, his uncle would be alive today. And that's where it comes with the expression of, with great power comes great responsibility. So to the people who try and spread negativity, or the people that hurt you in life, whether it's at your job or your family or just in life, because you may be different. Maybe you have a different sexual preference. Maybe you have a different religion. Maybe you have a different point of view. But if you allow them to get you angry or hurtful, just imagine whose lives can be affected because maybe you didn't feel like getting out of bed today. Or maybe you didn't feel like helping that old elderly woman today. Or going to your job where you could be saving lives. Or just imagine if you're a surgeon and somebody pissed you off and you're about to do an operation that could save somebody's life. You think you're going to do your best if you're angry and full of hatred? Or do you think it might distract you? So when negative people do negative things, they don't realize the domino effect it could make. But make no mistake, it's not always the negative. It's also positive. Because just imagine if that surgeon, before he went into that surgery, found out that somebody tried to rob his wife and somebody stopped him from ever having it happen. And all of a sudden he realizes, wow, I could have lost my wife today, but some person, some human being, some caring, unknown stranger decided to interact and save the life of my wife. You don't think with that joyous feeling in his heart, you don't think he's going to now want to save that life 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more? You have the power to do anything in life. And not many people are going to hear this. Like, since I've talked, this has gone from 30 views down to 17. And it can go down to 1. And that will be perfectly fine with me, because not everybody wants to hear this. What they want to hear is the doom and gloom. What they want to hear is the Alex Jones, we're all going to die. If that's the kind of thing you want, there's plenty of places to get it. What I try and do here, to the best of my ability as a normal, regular person, regular human, is to try and inspire 1 or 2 people that care. And if those 1 or 2 people decide to take that and go somewhere else to make somebody else's life better, who knows how many dozens or hundreds or thousands or millions of people that can be changed by one person's changing it, just changing themselves. But it's all got to start within yourself, because we all feel pain. We all feel loss. We've all had some kind of experience, but it's what we do with it. It's like that song says, I get knocked down, but I get up again. Not many people want to do that, because that takes effort, that takes passion, it takes true strength. So I'm going to answer a question really quick, because John Smith wanted to ask a question. And if anybody wants to ask questions, you're more than welcome to. All you have to do is click on the icon where, well, actually, you'll see where it says be a part of the conversation. Click here. When you click on that, it's going to open up another window. Look on the top right-hand corner. You will see what looks to be a white Rubik's Cube. When you click on that, there's a Q&A button. You're more than welcome to ask a question. So right here, John Smith, and welcome, John. He's actually been on my other channel, so I appreciate you being here right now. He says, hey, Chris, do you think GOP will succeed in stomping Trump? It depends on their motives, but it really doesn't matter who's president, because presidents run corporations. And the people behind the scenes who finance those corporations are the ones in charge. Presidents are figureheads, they're punching bags. They're the ones that take all the blame, while the people behind the scenes who are really in charge are the ones behind the scenes that don't get yelled at, don't even get noticed, don't even think they're there. But they're the, make no mistake, the ones in control. The president gets paid lots of money to do what he's told, and gets murdered if he doesn't, or humiliated if he doesn't. Raul Duke says, hey, Chris, can you let me on, please? I'm actually not doing any particular people on this because I don't know how long it's going to go. But if a future reference, if that happens, let me know. Send me a message. If I am going to invite people on the show, I would have to at least see who they are. You'll have to forgive me on that because, unfortunately, with some of the trolls and things, I would at least have to know off the air who a person is. So if you want to contact me on a private message, let me know who you are. I'll be more than happy to. But tonight I'm not doing any kind of thing like that where there'll be people on the panel. But I might do that in the future. So if you keep watching, we'll definitely consider that. So I hope you understand why. So to kind of sum things up, and I don't know how much longer we'll go, I'll if people want to ask questions, I can continue to do that. But I feel like it's my job. It's almost like my duty. Like, I can't walk away from this. That's the funny part. Maybe that's what some of them don't understand. Call it stubbornness. Call it perseverance. Call it will, determination, arrogance. I don't know. I've been called arrogant before. Well, if you want to ask a question, Raul, about the Spider-Man thing, please do. But like I said, I don't want to fill this up just tonight, but I can promise you if you talk to me in private, I'll do another thing where it's planned. So forgive me on that. I hope you'll understand. But if you want to write any comments, please do about it. You're more than welcome to. But like I was saying, this is why I like to do these every now and then. I mean, I don't think I've ever done really the podcast since I did them with. Actually, the ironic part is one of my biggest haters. We were on a live chat together. They called ourselves the Four Horsemen, which any four people that do videos, who hasn't? I mean, not a very original name that we came up with, but it was fun while it lasted. And the funny part is, one of the people that is a fellow New Yorker, we didn't have a problem with. And then I think people have a problem with me, and I'm only guessing, is because I think differently. I have different ideas. I mean, I'm sure there's other reasons. Somebody might just not like me for who I am. That's fine, but they don't know me. And the ironic part is, in the quote-unquote real world, I don't have any enemies. The last time I got into a physical fight, I was around 10, 11 years old. I mean, being a massage therapist, karaoke DJ, used to be a lead singer of a band, I was surrounded by people who wanted to hang out with me, and I always got along with everybody. That's why I think, especially in the beginning of my YouTube career, it actually used to blow me away. It's like, wow, there's actually people that hate. And then it's funny because the more I watched other channels, I watched that there's hatred everywhere. I mean, I've seen videos where people just have like a purring kitten, and somebody will leave a comment saying, oh, that we should kill that kitten. Like, really? I've seen videos where there's little kids dancing. And they're like, oh, look how fat that kid is. So there's negativity everywhere. I just didn't realize that. And it's like, wow, people just hate on me, some strangers that I don't know. And I think I tried maybe too hard to try and please them. And sometimes you push people away. But all I can be is myself. And all you could be is yourself. So if you have a different sexual preference, if you have a different religion, or no religion, if you are not the most beautiful person in the world, who cares if somebody doesn't like you for that? Yeah, Raul, like I said, please don't take it personally. I understand. Like I said, if you want to write it down, I will be more than happy to share it. Or if you want to save it for another video, I totally will do that for you. We would love to hear your experience, but just if you could just respect that for today. If I do one where it's planned, you'll get a lot more people to share it. So I hope you can understand that. But if you want to write it, I'll be more than happy to read it and share it with the world. So anything that's a good experience is always a positive thing. But back to what I was saying. If you're still watching this, if I'm sure there are people, and I get emails all the time, I get comments all the time from people that are very angry, but in a good way. See, anger doesn't always have to be negative. I mean, think of it this way. Let's say you are a father or a mother, and you have a child. You love that child, hopefully, unconditionally. And that is your world. At least I hope it is. But let's say, for example, you have a 5-year-old kid, and you're trying to protect that child because it doesn't know the world like we do. And thank you for respecting that rule. I appreciate that. We'll try this for you in the future, and we'll do it the right way. Now, you want to protect that child in every way you can, but you know you can't, unless you're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just sitting there, you can't watch over them all the time. And let's say, and I hope this never happens, but you're playing with your child out front and the phone rings or something, or you get distracted for a second because your next door neighbor says hi or whatever, and your 5-year-old runs out in the middle of the street and just starts playing in the middle of the road, not thinking anything of it. And you see a car coming. And you just drop your phone or drop your whatever you're holding, you stop your conversation, you go running out in the middle of the street, you grab your child to save its life. You're full of adrenaline, you're scared to death. Now, when you finally pull your child back into the house, are you going to sit there and pat him on the head and say, oh, it's okay? No, you're going to be mad. But it's not hateful mad. It's, how many times have I told you not to do that? It's not because you want to hurt them. It's not because you hate them. It's because you love them. Think about that. On the other side of the coin, there are those who will put their hands on a child, either in an inappropriate way or in a hurtful way, which I guess if it's inappropriate, it's probably hurtful as well. And I think anybody that could hurt a child is a very sick person. Now, a lot of times when there's abuse, people conveniently will blame it on things like alcohol. I've been surrounded by alcohol all of my life. I lived with an alcoholic from the age of about 11 till the day he died a few years ago from overdosing on pain medications, over excessive drinking. It finally took its toll. I've been in bars since 1990, probably 1991. Worked in bars since 1999. I've seen it all. I gave up drinking years ago. But one thing I never did was use alcohol as an excuse for me to hurt others. And people do it because it's a way to justify things. Instead of understanding that there's pain inside you, and instead of trying to fix it, it's easier to hurt somebody else or take it out on somebody else. So pain and negativity, and even anger, depends on the situation. Because you can love somebody and still be mad at them, but you don't want to hurt them. And then there are those who may think they love somebody and yet will still hurt them. And that's why I get so affected when somebody wants to hurt an animal. And it affects me for some reason more than anything. Because to me, an animal is an innocent thing that puts its trust in you. You could literally, if you have a pet in your house, you could literally wrap your arms around it and it will still look at you and probably lick you or purr, depending on what type of animal you have. It trusts you. And for somebody to extinguish or hurt the life of an animal that puts that trust in you is almost a cowardly thing. Now, if I can get you to take anything from what I'm saying right now with you, is that when negativity or sorrow or pain or frustration or bad things happen to you, you have two choices. And it's always a choice. Not what happens, but how you react to it. You can either say, woe is me, and play the victim, and maybe do something bad to somebody else to make yourself feel better, or hurt yourself thinking it makes you feel better. Or you can see whatever that negativity is and try and learn something from it and make somebody else's life better. Because I promise you, when you help others and you get that satisfaction of knowing you've made somebody's life better, it's a beautiful thing. And that's something my haters will never understand. Yes, they've hurt me before. They continually harass me. That's fine. They can high-five all they want. They could take my words out of context, and they can make accusations, and they can make judgments. But what I do to make my life better and feel better is when I read an email from somebody or a comment, either somebody on my Facebook page or somebody here on YouTube, and they just thank me because I haven't given up. I wish everybody could feel that. All right, and we got a question really quick. Charles Wilson, and thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Chris, these elites are using our good side to make us their slaves to their system. You're probably right about that. Taking advantage of the situation. But it depends on how you define good. I mean, if somebody was trying to murder a family member of mine, if I have to kill them to save my family in defense, well, then I'll do what it takes. And I'm sure you would too. If you have a child and somebody was trying to hurt your child, now you wouldn't willingly go out and want to hurt somebody. But if somebody basically gives the ultimatum, well, either you kill me or I'm going to kill your children, I'm sure most of you will say that person's going to be the one that's not going to enjoy the ending and the outcome. So just because people are good does not mean, see, I'm not going to suggest to everybody to hug a tree and spread daisies around the world and say, oh, everything's fine. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to defend yourself in whatever way, shape, and form. If I was mugged in the middle of the street and I knew my life was on the line, I'm not going to sit there and say, can I have a hug? I'm going to defend myself, even if I have to take the life of another person to do it. But that is cause and reaction. If not for the person putting themselves and attacking me and putting me in that the position to have to defend my life, maybe the outcome would be different for that person. We all have to take responsibility for what we choose to do and what we choose not to do. So yes, are the elites taking advantage of our good side? Sure are, but they're taking a lot more advantage of the people who don't give a damn, to the people who can be bought, to the people who will serve their needs and hurt others for their purpose. See, because I can't control what somebody else does, but I can control what I do. Always remember that. You cannot control what somebody else does, but you can control what you do with it. It's all choice. And that's why I say, if we want to be, quote unquote, free of the system, it's when all of us decide to walk away, or the majority of us decide to walk away. What can they do? They are the grasshoppers, and we are the ants. The grasshoppers are bigger, but they're smaller in number. You notice, like if you ever saw that movie, Ants, it tells you everything you need to know. Just take the grasshoppers and change them into the government, and take the ants and change them as the people. They use fear to control us because they know if we knew how much power we all possessed as a unit, there is nothing that they could do to stop us. And fear is a choice. It's a learned trait. If you were just born out of your mother's womb, you ever see somebody do a water birth? Does that child panic and is scared? Because I guarantee you it never got taught to swim, but yet it rises to the top. If you had a baby, and I don't recommend anybody do this because it's pretty stupid, but if you put a baby in a tub of tarantulas, it wouldn't be scared. It wouldn't try and run away. It would probably see these fluffy little things walking all over the place, probably start laughing and try and pet them. We're instilled with fear. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. Why do you think people are so afraid of the dark? They're afraid of the dark because they can't see where they are. But if you think about it, we are supposedly on a ball in an infinite universe of darkness. We are surrounded by darkness, but we feel better because the lights are on? What's the difference between you being in a room that's lit and you being in a room that's dark? Does anything change? It's your mindset. It's watching horror movies and people telling you, oh, be afraid of the dark. Why? I'll go into my basement right now, and I've done it so many times. As a matter of fact, I kid around my wife all the time that she will never go in the basement. She's just afraid of that. But it's a choice. I go down there all the time, and I purposely go down there into my basement, which is only an outside entrance. It's not like I just take stairs and go down. I actually go outside through one of those old-fashioned double-hinge doors and go down into a half basement. And I leave the lights off. Because there's no difference between that room being lit and that room being dark. It's your choice. It's your mindset. You could choose to feel hatred. You could choose to feel afraid, but you don't have to. Just because everybody says, oh, that's what's happening and you should be afraid. No, you shouldn't. If you don't want to. That's why I don't worry about these elites anymore. And you shouldn't either. And you should not be part of the system. It's not easy to get out of it 100%, but it's kind of hard to do that if you're on a ship. If you've been abducted by a pirate ship and it's out in the middle of the ocean and they took 1,000 workers to work for one captain and 20 crew members. They might have all the guns. They might make you scared by saying, oh, we'll make you walk the plank. And it might work for a long time. And those 21 people can get those 1,000 workers to do everything that they want because they got the guns, they got the power, they got the control. Or do they? Because what would happen if all 1,000 of those crew members went to that 21 armed people and said, we're not doing a damn thing. As a matter of fact, we're taking over your boat. What do you think those 21 people are going to do? Might shoot a couple, but they ain't going to win. And if people understood that the power that they truly have, when in numbers and in strength, why do you think they have divide and conquer? Why do you think there's so many things you can get on the internet? You want porn? You can see it anywhere you want, to the point where nothing shocks you anymore. You want to see violence? Go turn on any television channel. You want depressing, scary news? Turn on the radio. Turn on any numerous amounts of news stations. They'll be there to give you exactly what you want. And then you wonder why you close your eyes at night, wondering what's about to get you. When it's your time, it's your time. I mean, think of the Pope. The Pope is supposed to be somebody that supposedly is the second in command to God itself, which, by the way, which God are they referring to? Because God is not a name, it's a title. We assume it's the God you think it is, but it's very dangerous to assume. But even he goes around with bulletproof around his vehicle. Now think about that. This is a person that supposedly preaches to the world that there is this beautiful place that when you are a good person and you are a servant of God, whichever God they're referring to, that when you pass on or pass over or pass through, you go to a world of an everlasting, loving eternity. And he has bulletproof glass around him. What is he afraid of? He might die and go to a better place? Think about that. Fear is there for a reason. It's there to protect us. Because as much as a baby would be playful with a bunch of tarantulas, it might not have a good outcome if he was to stick around or she was to stick around in there. So there is a reason for some fear. There are many that take advantage of us because of that. There will always be the boogeyman ready to come around the corner, or some terrorist, or some monster, or some evil thing. Evil can happen. I mean, in the world of yin and yang, there is as much good as there is bad, but we somehow seem to focus on just the bad. And I'm tired of doing that. I'm tired of letting those people, those few that hate me, or don't like me, or disagree with me, affect me. And they did for a while. Not major points. It's not like, I wanted to shoot myself over it. But it did affect me. Now, I love the one, for every 10 hate mails I get, if I get one good one positive one, one inspirational one thankful one appreciative one, that's the one I care about now. So if you don't have a million friends, okay. Do you have one? And if you don't, why not? Go make one. Everybody can. The days of hating each other, the divide and conquer, has got to stop. We should not be hating people's right to be who they want to be. Now, let me say straight out, I am a heterosexual man. I love women. I love my wife. I have no sexual interest in a man. But does that mean I should hate or want to hurt somebody because they think differently? Who am I to want to hurt or hate somebody else for their right to do something if two consenting adults willingly do things that do not hurt others? Then why should I want to stop them if it's not interfering with me and it's not hurting me? But yet in this world, we all feel this need to want to chastise and hurt and ridicule and insult and bring others down because they are different. Isn't that supposed to be a beautiful thing in this world? The individuality that makes us special. There's a reason why spice racks sometimes have 50 to 100 different spices, because variety is the spice of life. Just imagine if the only spice you were allowed to use was pepper. Nothing else existed. Get pretty boring after a while. You'd probably lose the flavor, the taste for it, the desire for it. You want variety. But in this history of this world, and the funny thing is, when you criticize a government, any government, you are told you are a non-patriot or a traitor or a hater or a tinfoil hat-wearing person. Can anyone show me a government throughout history where there was a utopia, where everything was fine and everybody was equal, everybody had what they wanted, there was no pain, there was no death, there was no sickness, because instead of spending money on weapons, they spent the money on the people? Can somebody explain one time in history that occurred? And yet we question these things, and some of us call us crazy for it, because maybe we don't have all the answers, or we don't get it right, or they seem different. Look up the quote from Mark Twain. Now, I don't have the exact quote, but he was asked at one point, is it easier to write fiction or nonfiction? Now, nonfiction is a truthful story. A fiction is a fake story. And he said he preferred to write fake stories, fiction stories. And he said, why? Because fiction doesn't have to make sense. So the direct quote pretty much was, I prefer something to that extent. I prefer to write fictional stories because fictional stories don't have to make sense. I want you to think about that. So let me ask a couple of questions. So Charles Wilson, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And there's a couple of questions. If you want to ask them, I'll be more than happy to. Because like I said, this was something that was, I didn't think I was going to do. I just got inspired from reading other people's nice emails that it just made me appreciate the good. And I think it's time we address that more. Yes, it's more sexy to be fighting back and forth and wanting to threaten people. Because back in 2012, there was a person, his name was the News Unit, where I wanted to actually fight him. How stupid is that? What would I have achieved even if I did it? Even if I beat the living daylights out of him, or he beat the living daylights out of me, would life have been better? Would it have achieved anything? I look back at those days and I was mad at myself that I actually wanted to do that. And thank God for my wife. She said she'd leave me if I went and did it. And you know what? That's what made me stop. It's not because I was afraid or think I could lose. I didn't think about that. I just said, what's more important? The satisfaction of either hurting or being hurt by some individual just for the fact of letting that anger out and losing my wife? It's a no-brainer. But people can think whatever they want. I know the truth. So let's get into this. John Smith writes, so do you think Trump can be bought like all politicians? Well, he'll either be bought, he'll either be threatened, or he'll be murdered. Because presidents do not run this country. Throughout history, no one person is in charge. There's always people financing everything. I mean, think of, like, for example, John Smith, you come from my comic book channel. Let me ask you something. Comics are mainly made by Marvel and DC, for the most part. Now, let's say there is one person, John Feige, or Feige, I don't know how it's pronounced, who's basically the head guy at Marvel. Do you think he's omnipotent there? Do you think everything that he says goes? Or do you think it's the stockholders that pay his bills that kind of influence what he can and cannot do? Think about a movie. How many times have they had a certain story that was going to be written? I mean, think about this new Ghostbusters movie and the flop it's going to be. They had a whole nother script that they wanted to do, but because they wanted to play it safe to keep the shareholders happy, didn't matter what the director said, didn't matter what the producer said, it mattered what the shareholders said. Now, you know who ultimately has the biggest decision? The customer. Because it doesn't matter that they got that movie made. If nobody watches it and nobody gives them the money, well, guess what? They have to change it. And that's why, like, movies like Deadpool was such a huge success, because they gave the people what they wanted. And Hollywood tried to fight that for 11 years. Shows how much they know. So make no mistake, throughout history, there is not one ruler, even if they claim to be in charge, that is. Because there are always people behind the scenes financing it. You want a law passed or a law not passed? Grease the palms of a certain politician with enough money, you get things done. So who has the power? The person that made the law or the person who financed it? So Trump is a little bit more challenging because he is a self-made, I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's definitely a multimillionaire. So he can't be bought. But make no mistake, even if he becomes president, he's not changing anything. Remember how much Obama was supposed to change everything? Wasn't that the beginning of his platform? Change. They tell you what you want to hear. They want you to wave your flags. They want you to think, oh, this time it'll be different. How many generations have we been saying that? And again, could somebody show me a utopia throughout history? And even if there was one, why didn't it last? We see the same thing over and over again, and yet the people who question it are made to be the crazy ones, the tinfoil hat wearing ones. Well, I don't go around wearing tinfoil over my head. I'm not some crazy person because I'm passionate and I speak in ways that some people are afraid to. And you shouldn't be either. Because as much as they can easily throw money to make a movie, if nobody watches it, they don't make a part 2. Look at Fantastic Four. They were very arrogant about that. They put that out there because they had to. Otherwise, they'd lose the rights to go back to Marvel. And they put out this, for most part, a garbage movie that most people didn't like. They were going to be making a part 2. They took it off their list of future movies. Why? Because money talks. You don't like the banks? Stop putting your money in the banks. You don't like the way the governments overtax you? Well, then figure a way to stop giving them your money. But they'll make you think you have to. If you know anything about the 13th Amendment, the 13th Amendment is all about defining legally the word and definition of the word slavery, which is involuntary servitude. In other words, they can't make you do anything by gunpoint. They can threaten you, threaten to throw you in jail, or threaten you with a fine, but they can't force you. Like, for example, when you go to register to vote, one of the first things they make you check is, are you a U.S. citizen? They don't put a gun to your head and say, check it. You do it on your own free will. So you're volunteering your servitude, which makes you a legal slave, which is not protected by the 13th Amendment. People don't understand this, and I've repeated it how many dozens of times. Does that sound like a crazy person who could legally define a legal definition of part of your Constitution, the Constitution? And when I talk about the Act of 1871, some people say, oh, that was repealed. Well, just because they repealed it on paper doesn't mean that anything has changed behind the scenes. So it's irrelevant that they may have even done that. Again, are we a utopia? Are we close to a utopia? Are we going in a positive direction or are we going in a negative direction? With this day and age, you can't say anything because, like, for example, if I or somebody else doesn't like the new Ghostbusters movie, well, you must be sexist because there's women in there. So you can't critique it and you can't say anything about any of the races because then you're a racist. See how they kind of twist things around? And we're all so afraid. Again, it's a choice. So could Trump be bought? I don't think he needs to be, but I'm sure they'll make the point across. They'll show him a nice little extra videos about what happened to John F. K. when he tried to do the right thing. Look up Executive Order 11110 if you're not familiar with it. That would have saved the taxpayers billions of dollars every year, and all that money would have went in your pocket instead of somebody else's. But again, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So if you don't want to know what you're doing, that's not their fault. That's your own. And people don't want to hear that because it's easier to say, oh, listen to this guy. He's arrogant. He's not a lawyer. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, I don't have to be a lawyer to understand legal definitions. Just got to learn how to read. Just like you don't need to go to a chef school to learn how to cook. And you can be a pretty damn good cook. You don't have to go to cooking school to be a chef. It helps, but that's not my career. So if people would rather focus on the negativity of, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing, or he's not a lawyer, you're right. But that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. And if you want to make me seem to be arrogant because of that, okay, that's a choice. So let me ask answer a couple other questions, and thank you for those who are staying up and watching this, because it's a caring person who tries to do things. And again, I won't say I'm doing everything right, and you will not do everything right either. But if you do everything with integrity and honesty and trying to do the right thing, you cannot control the outcome, but you can control what you really did. Because despite what some few want to say about me, I know what I do. And for some to harass me the way they do on a comic book channel, one that's supposed to relieve my stress, it just motivates me even more. So I don't know what their intention is. Again, they'll high-five each other. That's what they do. All right, so let's see. John Smith writes, I think the reason that Trump can't be bought is why they are trying so hard to stop him. I definitely would agree with that. And I think that's where some people like him. Now, do I think he's the answer to all things? No. But he's better than the alternative. That doesn't mean it's good. Because like I said, it doesn't matter if he's president. It doesn't matter if the Pope is president. It doesn't matter if Mother Teresa is president. Put it in this perspective. Let's say you have a particular type of mafia. And Mother Teresa goes into this mafia crime syndicate. And they have the table where all the bosses are sitting, the ones that are in charge of the mafia. Again, it's the few in charge of the many. And Mother Teresa says, I'm going to take over and I'm going to do good here. I'm going to make you guys into a peaceful place. Now, if they don't want it, what do you think they're going to do to Mother Teresa? Do you think they're going to be like, oh, okay, you want change? Well, I guess we got to do it. Or do you think you'll never see Mother Teresa again? Did she have the intention of wanting to do good? Sure. Could Donald Trump have that? Who knows? But do you think he's going to by himself change everything? Because even Superman, and this is one of the things I love about the fact that I directed myself back to Passion of Comics, because it makes me see things in bigger perspective. Superman is supposed to be the most omnipotent, most powerful being in the universe, and he can't save everybody at the same time. So while he's saving somebody else in another world, another galaxy, another side of the planet, another town is dying. What they're trying to teach you is one person cannot save the world, and we are so convinced that we cheer them and say, oh, he's going to save us or she's going to save us. No, you have to save yourself. You are Superman. Everybody is Superman. But if you're waiting for Superman to save the day, you're going to be very mistaken. You're going to be very sad. Because look at every presidential speech all the way back to the days of the radio. They will tell you everything that they want to hear. They'll say all the wonderful, inspirational, patriotic things to make you wave your flags and applaud your new slave master. But it's your choice. And people like me and many others who question it. And that's all we do is question it. Do you see me out there with a gun trying to assassinate somebody? Anybody ever see me post up something saying we need to murder everyone? I'd love to see it. But being good and being peaceful doesn't mean we just bend over and say, here, kindly insert tab A into slot B. It's not putting up with things, but doing it in a better way, because you can't fight fire with fire. Just imagine if you have a burning building and a fireman comes and you're like, oh, thank God they're here to rescue you, and out of the hose comes flames. And I understand the frustration. I understand the anger. They use your lower vibrational emotions to keep you under control. So they want you angry. They want you full of hate. So you will continue to do bad things or not good things. So that will lead to my next question. Well, a statement that Charles Wilson writes, and I respect this. Sorry, Chris, I am really angry with the elites and their system. I don't blame you. Just everything we're brought up to fight against. There's different ways to fight. They have achieved this by working in the shadows and lies and deception. There can only be one God. Well, Charles, I believe I pretty much agree with everything except the last part. How do you know there can only be one God? How do you even know there is one God? Is it because you witnessed it? Or is that because that's what you're told? Now, again, that's not trying to insult somebody. It's making you think about how easily you are programmed. You say a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. Unless you've met that one God and he sat you or she sat you down and said, listen, this is the truth. I am the way. Here I am. There is no other. Then I can understand it. But what are you basing that on? Your own personal experience with that one God? Or the fact that they've told you that since the moment you got your head stuck under that water when you were baptized? Now, I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm saying it to make you understand how easily we are programmed into a certain agenda. Because if you look at, for example, I tell anybody, if you have a dollar bill in your pocket or in your wallet or within reach, go get that dollar bill right now. First of all, it no longer says silver certificate, which means it's not backed by anything. It's a Federal Reserve note, which means it's a foreign debt note that you have to create debt to create that dollar. It's not money, it's currency. But if you look on the dollar, it says, in God we trust. Now, you're assuming it's probably a Christian God, which insults many of the people around the world that don't have Christian views. Maybe they're Jewish. Maybe they're Buddhist. Who knows? But let me show you something. If you have that dollar bill in your hand and looking where it says, in God we trust. Now, if you're assuming it's that Christian or Catholic God, can you point out anywhere on that dollar where you see crosses? How about any angels flying around in the clouds? See any of those images on there? What about a picture of Jesus Christ? You'd think if that was the God they were talking about, wouldn't that person's image be on there? How about God himself? You don't see any of that, do you? What do you see? You see a single eye. You see a pyramid. You see hexagon shapes. You see a phoenix. They call it an eagle, but it's the image of a phoenix. It's not literally. Symbolism. That's why there are 13 steps going up the pyramid. That's why there are 13 stars above the phoenix or eagle's head. And he's holding 13 fig leaves with 13 arrows. If you want to believe that's the God they're referring to, again, that's your choice. You always hear politicians saying things like, God bless America. Well, which God are they referring to? And what about the definition of bless? Because most people are very unaware. And again, if you don't know, that's how you get yourself in trouble. There are two definitions for the word bless, and you can look it up in a Bible or any religious definitions. They'll be more than happy to show you. There is not one, but two versions of the word bless. One of them you know, one of them you probably don't know. So you ready for this? The other definition that you can find in any religious text means to curse. It's not crazy. It's not conspiracy theory. Look it up and you will see it for yourself. So when they say God bless America or God bless the people, okay, which God are they referring to? Because when you see the God bless America on the dollar bill, you see nothing angelic. You see nothing of the Catholic or Christian faith, but you see plenty of paganism. God is only who you pray to. If you pray to Jesus, then that's your God. You pray to Buddha, then that's your God. If you pray to a celery stick, well, that's your God. If I asked you what your name was, you wouldn't say human. You would say Bart or John or Chris or Samuel or Barbara or Fred. You ever wonder, even if you follow religious text, that the only time that Jesus was angry and got violent was when the money changers were in the temple and he literally took out a stick and beat them? You ever hear money is the root of all evil? Maybe it's not the God you assume it is. But again, we're basing it on assumption, what we've been told. But because we've been told it all our lives, we automatically assume it to be true, thereby having you under their control. And if you ever watch the movie Empire Strikes Back, there's a beautiful thing that Yoda says to Luke when he's trying to train him. You must unlearn what you have learned. And when Luke is trying to use his physical strength, thinking size mattered, when Yoda, the small little old 900-year-old creature, could lift up an X-Wing, and Luke says he couldn't believe it, he realized that's why he failed, because it was a belief system that he was told could not be done. And that's why when Yoda goes to him and touches his shoulder, he says, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter, as he grabs Luke's shoulder. Luminous beings, beings of light. You are the light of the world. It's more than what you are programmed. But if you talk about it, it makes people angry. And if you make people angry, they don't want to listen. And when they don't listen, they are not seeing the truth. That's how you control people, with the information right there. You can go on the internet and you can find plenty of dead ends, but you could also find plenty of truth. And most people won't. I wonder, when I said Executive Order 11110 before, I wonder how many people actually went and verified it. Maybe 2? Maybe 3? I guarantee you not everybody stopped and said, oh, let me go check that. I wonder how many people, when I said the other word for bless is also to curse, I wonder how many people went to check that. Now, you might believe me because you like who I am or like what I represent. Or you may not believe me for the exact opposite. But either way, you don't know. And that's the entrapment in itself, is belief. Because whether you don't believe or you do believe, you don't know. Therein lies the control. So I understand your anger, but you could be angry. But if you want to shoot somebody in the head with your anger, then you're using that anger for negativity. And you will always get what you give. But if you use that anger to make something good, you ever, like, if you've been married or in a relationship, you ever come home so mad that all of a sudden you just sexually ravage your spouse in a good way? I'm not saying in a bad way. And you probably had the best sex of your life. Well, that's using that negative energy in a good way. Do you ever get so frustrated you decided, you know what, I need to go to the gym, and you have the best workout of your life? It's taking that anger and turning it into something positive. So just because you're angry doesn't mean you have to stoop to their level and do what they do. 2 wrongs don't make a right. You don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water. Be water, my friend, as one of my friends, Jess, actually said tonight. Turn your anger into something positive, and you could change the world. Or stoop to their level and wonder why they want us to get angry. There's a purpose behind it. That's why in riots, they're there in riot gear. They're there to pepper spray everybody. They want you mad because it justifies what they do. It justifies, oh, well, I can't be violent to a person that's handing me a flower, but I can be violent to a person that's coming at me with a stick. I could probably even murder him. Or just protecting myself, as they say. Who do you think they're going to go for in a corrupt system? You think the court's going to believe you or the person that they pay to protect them and their wealth? Unless you have video evidence to prove your innocence, you're going to be pretty much screwed, and even times when you have that. So if you want to keep fighting fire with fire, don't be surprised you keep getting burned. It's when we rise above and go to a different level. And I say it all the time, it's all about frequency. People don't want to hear that because it sounds weird. If you go from channel 2 on your TV to channel 4, congratulations, you've went to another frequency. If you're on 102.3 FM and you go to 107.6 FM, guess what? You're on another frequency. So you can no longer hear what's being said in the other station. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it disappeared. It's just no longer in your capacity to hear it or see it. And so many people will be on Channel 2 watching a show they absolutely hate, not realizing they could just change the channel or shut off the TV. But instead, they decide, I'm going to go back every day, go on Channel 2, even though I know it's going to be something I don't like. I'm going to keep watching it, and I'm going to write in, and I'm going to text in all this hatred stuff. Oh, I hate Channel 2, and oh, I hate the programs they do, and whoa, it sucks. Well, whose fault is it that they're doing bad stuff? If you keep watching it, and you keep buying their products, you can complain all you want. They're going to keep giving it to you. Movies like Fantastic Four and this new Ghostbusters movie that is going to fail, the reason they exist is because they think people are stupid enough to spend their money to watch it. And you know what? There will be plenty. It's like, God, just give us something, but give us a twist. Oh, it's all women. Now, if I say that, does that mean I'm a sexist? Does it mean I hate women? Remember, if you watch this from the earlier beginning, I said I have two of the most important people in my life. One is my mother, one is my wife. Those are both women. You think I'm a sexist? When I am everything who I am because of my mother, and I stay the way I am, as happy as I can be because of my wife, you think I hate women? But they can turn things around. It's easy. But I'll give you an example. You ever see the movie Charlie's Angels? Isn't that about three women? Do you think I would ever want to see the next generation of Charlie's Angels movies and all of a sudden it's three guys? No. So does that mean I hate men now? Or maybe I just don't like the fact that they're saying, well, we're going to give you the same thing, just a little different. And if you don't like it, there's something wrong with you. Or we don't want you to question things. We want you to just agree. Just accept it. Why? If it was good, by all means. But I'm still waiting for somebody to show me where this, throughout history, where this utopia is. I'd love to go visit there and live there. It sure ain't here. Sure isn't here in the United States of America Corporation. Sure isn't in the European Corporation. Sure isn't over in Australia Corporation. Where? Where is it? The people that call me crazy all the time. Where is it that everything's wonderful? Now, I'm not talking about if it's wonderful for you. Yes, there might be plenty of individuals that get plenty of money looking the other way or helping do their evil biddings. But I'm talking about in general. Are the majority of people in your area better or worse than the people who are telling you that they can make you a better world? Be realistic. All right, so let's get to the next question. And see, here we go. I thought this was going to be a 5-minute thing, and as usual in my fashion, I will go for longer times. It's a beautiful thing. And you guys are inspiring me, and I hope I've inspired some of you. Let's see. Charles Wilson writes, Chris, the good die young, so try to be a bit bad and get even with the elites. That will get you to live a bit longer. Well, I'm still here, Charles. I would like to consider myself good. I don't have to believe in that, and you shouldn't believe in that either. The song makes you think that. Billy Joel was pretty good at writing a song that makes you think, well, only the good die young. It's not true. If you want it to be true, and what is being bad going to do? The world is light and magnetism. You ever wonder why you keep getting the same things over and over again? Whether you notice it or not. The same type of people in your world. The same type of situations in your world. If you do nothing to change it, you will keep getting the very thing you don't want. Because keep asking for it in one way, shape, or form. So you have the right, Charles, to believe that. But that doesn't mean I have to. Now, just because I disagree doesn't mean you're a bad person. And I hope you don't think I'm a bad person because I don't agree. And see, that's the thing in this world. We don't all have to agree with each other. I don't want a bunch of people to pat me on the back and say, oh, yes, Chris, we believe you. We listen to you. We love you. We will believe everything that you say. Everything is gospel. No, you have the right to disagree. But what you don't have the right to do is try and hurt me for it or try and insult me or damage me. That's not nice. And we allow these things. While the few gang up on me, I face it alone with no fear. At this point, I just block them and I ignore them. Why would I waste my energy trying to talk to these people? And some of them I tried to be friends with. Doesn't mean I wish hatred on them. And they continue for years to stalk me and harass me. Might make me slow down on my videos a little bit, but it hasn't stopped me, and it won't. Because every now and then, when I get enough hatred and I need that break, it also inspires me to help somebody else so they never have to feel that way. And I try and take the good out of it. That's why if you have a glass and there is 50% of that glass with water inside it, most will see it as half empty. Very few will see it as half full. But make no mistake, if you were walking and stuck in the desert for a week and a half and you were about to collapse from dehydration and somebody handed you a glass that was half full of water, you're going to appreciate every damn drop. You're not going to sit there and say, oh, it's only a half of glass of water. You'll be like, thank you so much for saving my life with that not so full glass. You won't think anything negative. It's all perspective. It's all choice. So if you feel the only way you can get even with elites is to be bad, well, see how that works out. We've had revolutions throughout history. We've had quote-unquote civil wars, which I find funny. What's so civil about murdering people and destroying people's livelihoods? I'd love to know what's so civil about that. We've had the revolutions, haven't we? Have they worked? Have they worked temporarily? Sure. Didn't we have one here in the Americas? Didn't we have an American Revolution? Breaking free from the oppression? Didn't we want to break away from the British because of taxes? What are you paying now every time by April 15th? Taxes. So the very thing we supposedly broke away from, we're still doing it. We supposedly separated from Britain, and yet how many wars have we had since that time? Even ones that, just because they don't call it a war, when you shoot somebody else, what is it then? People don't want to hear these things because it's the truth, and the truth hurts. But again, it's always a choice. But I keep telling people, those of you who question me for whatever reason, do you think I'm crazy because I am not afraid to speak my mind, even though it may not be the most popular thing? Prove me wrong. Prove to me that the world is a better place because of all of the governments or any of the governments throughout the world who say they're going to help you have sacrificed their happiness for the greater good. Anybody? So if it's not getting better, why do we continue to allow it? Because we get a couple of little trinkets they pass our way? Well, they might hand you a couple of thousand credits or maybe even a million or two. They have unlimited amounts. You think you're going to outwin them? What happens when you're not useful anymore? Take pride in yourself. Do good. And don't worry about what other people do. Worry about what you do and how you react. I'll live as long as I damn well want. When I'm ready to go, it'll be my time. And until then, when I go, it's my time. Same for you. Or if you want to think that you can't because only the good die young. And Charles, I'm not insulting you in any way. You have the right to believe in anything you want because everything is based on perception. And again, a belief system. I choose to disagree, but that doesn't make you a bad person and it doesn't make me a bad person. And I appreciate you taking the time to make that statement. Charles Wilson also writes, 90% of the animal world are homosexuals and lesbians. Well, I've never really interviewed and witnessed that, so who knows if that's accurate or not. But even if it is, I don't think that another species would kill another just for that fun. We hurt others because they think differently. Think about that. How are we any better than supposedly the cavemen that we supposedly came from? We're supposed to be smarter, and yet all we've done is improve our ways of murdering people and our words to describe those murders. Oh, it's collateral damage. They got plenty of words that could comfort you and make you feel better. But make no mistake, when you go and take the life of somebody else, because I guarantee you, if you were in the military, you were sent over to do a job that you would have not ever had to have done if you didn't want to. Nobody grows up wanting to kill other people. And I guarantee you that's why so many people get sick afterwards and have mental disorders and things, because they regret some of the things they were involved with or allowed to have happen. Because we're not meant to do those things. We're supposed to be loving and caring, not murderous people. And I love how some religious people forget what religion is supposed to be about. Religion is supposed to be, in its essence, all about love, unconditionally. So if God is supposed to, or gods are supposed to love us unconditionally, that means that God will love you if you are a saint or if you are a mass murderer. That's no conditions, but yet very judgmental. You don't see me judging anybody here. Maybe trying to inspire people, or maybe think of people, ways to make people have the opportunity to think differently. But do you hear me attacking anyone? Again, it's all choice. Just because I don't agree with two men or two women being together does not mean that it's my job to stop somebody that wanted to do it, or even hate them for it. They're not my house. What do I care what they do behind their own closed doors? If somebody wants to pray to a different God, who am I to hate that person for it? How many wars have been throughout history where somebody didn't like their particular choice of God because they thought their particular choice of God was the right or the only? We keep doing it. And yet people like me are supposed to be the crazy ones. Go figure. All right. Raul Duke writes, hey, Chris, can I ask, Trump or Clinton? Neither. Because again, that's just think about before the Civil War, when African Americans were slaves. Do you think they gave a rat's ass who was the next person to buy them? Whether they beat them or were nice to them, they were still. I think it might have gone off for a second, but okay. But so I understand. If you want to believe that things are going to get better because a new person is taking charge, watch and see. You'll get people to celebrate. You'll get people very excited. They'll wave their flags for a little while. They might do one or two nice things for a little bit. And then it'll be the same old, same old. They'll get your taxes. They'll get you scared. They'll create more reasons to make you submissive. They'll take away more of your freedoms, so little by little, because you can't do it all at once, because if you do it all at once, people notice. It's like if you had $1 million in your bank. If I stole all $1 million in one day, you'd probably notice. But if I stole $5 here, $10 there, $50 here, you probably wouldn't even realize it until one day I walk away with $200,000 that you weren't even aware was gone. You think, I must have spent it on something that I don't remember, because I buy stuff all the time. So that's how they do it in law too. And very smart people get totally, the plane goes flying right over their head. Because for them, they can take decades. If you look at what happened, what transpired after World War II until now, that's how long it takes. Look up things like Operation Northwoods, Operation Paperclip. The reason why the United Nations started. Its real purpose. It was to unite. It's supposedly to make it sound good. It makes you unite all of Europe. But what it did was it made it easier to control. Because now, look who's in control of the Union. Is it each individual state? Or is it this little section of people that control pretty much all of what Europe does? Probably one of the reasons why individual countries don't have their own individual money anymore. They all have the euro, don't they? The smaller you make the government, the more easily it is to control the people. And they'll make you feel patriotic. They'll tell you all the right things to keep waving your flags. So when you're waving your flags, you're not trying to stop them. And you may complain about your taxes. You may be complaining about the unfair laws, but you're not doing anything to stop it. And people will say, well, you're not doing anything to stop it. Well, I'm just one person. I can't save the world. I'm trying to do my part to at least inspire others. Because we need unity. And as long as there's people hating and hurting and dividing, there's no unity. But I guarantee you, the people at the top, the ones that are in control, they're pretty unified. That's why it's been happening for thousands of years. But you can't talk about that stuff because that's just crazy. Truth is stranger than fiction. So with that being said, I'm going to end this live chat. I want to thank everybody that took the time to listen to this. Whether you listened to it because you were bored, whether you listened to it because you enjoyed what I had to say, or you just wanted to see what words you can take out of context so you can make another chop-up video to make fun of me, I'm glad you're here. And those who do wrong, I hope you decide to start doing the right thing or stop doing the wrong thing. And to those that I might have inspired, aren't you glad I made this video if that's the case? So the next time you feel lonely or sad or scared, just remember it's a choice. Do whatever in your power to fix it. And you can. Don't ever let anyone say you can't. It may not be instant. It may not be easy. But it's a hell of a lot easier than falling down and never getting back up again. It's hard to get back up. It's easy to stay down. But you're not getting anywhere staying down. And you're definitely not getting anywhere falling asleep. You can have the best dream in the world, but all it is a dream. And that's what people have these days. They don't want the buzz to be over, the good times. I wish it was good for everybody, not just a few select people. But again, if you say things like, oh, everybody, what are you, communist? What are you this? No, I'm just me. Stop labeling. What's wrong with wanting everybody to be happy instead of a few? There are millions suffering. There are thousands of people who will not wake up tomorrow because they couldn't find food, or they couldn't find shelter, or they just happened to be the wrong color or the wrong religion and somebody else decided to extinguish their life for it. Does that make you feel good? Contributing in any way to that? I know a lot of people that watch this aren't like that they want to do good. They do good things. They help animals. They help people. They spread the word, even though it's easier to just not do it. It's easier to be part of the tribe. But I guarantee you're a lot more satisfied knowing that you did something. And if more people join that cause, we could take over the world from evil. Who knows? It's not impossible. Just hasn't happened yet. Nothing wrong with being hopeful or just dreaming the crazy dream. It's a lot better than knowing that I went to bed tonight knowing that I hurt somebody else. I can live with trying to help the world and not succeeding than to know that I hurt somebody else's world. I don't think I could sleep at night. I hope you can't either. So to all of you, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this video. If you want to share it, if you want to thumb it up, you're more than welcome to. I may do these again. I hope I can. I hope nobody took offense to anything I said. And if you did, just keep in mind, it's my own opinion. You have the right to agree or disagree. Just respect my choice and my right. And that's all I ask. So thanks for watching. Leave your comments, and we'll see you next time. I hope you all have a great weekend and be good to one another. I challenge everybody tomorrow to do something nice for someone else. Let's see if we could spread some good. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.